Welcome, Whippy. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad you could be here today, and we can just, I guess, start with the softball, right? What got you into streaming here on Twitch?
What got me into streaming on Twitch? It was an idea floating around in my head for quite a while, but it probably wasn't in any way, shape, or form going to look like what it does in my streams today. Way back when, sort of around the 2000s, just as I was leaving school, I was playing a hell of a lot of Counter-Strike, way too much to be healthy, and sort of I really got into gaming in a big way, and to the point where it became my job, and I was running an internet cafe, and games were just around me all of the time. I was picking them to pieces, making them work on our system so that CD keys would apply to different PCs when people launched games and things like that. And I actually got burnt out by it and just had to step back from gaming altogether. I probably took about 2 or 3 years off any serious gaming and just stuck to consoles. And I'm someone who's very PC centric. I build all my own PCs, and I have done for years, for decades even. It's probably since I was about 15. So 2.5 decades there. And I always knew that I wanted to go back and play a lot of those games that I grew up playing. So your sort of Half-Life, the original Call of Duty, BioShock when that came out, all of these classic games that I never really gave the amount of time they deserved. Half-Life I did, of course. Half-Life was very part and parcel with Counter-Strike. But BioShock, I played for the first couple of hours and then put it aside because the burnout would come back. But when streaming came along, I really thought it could be a really good way of sharing gaming with other people and maybe help me through that burnout and going back to gaming. And I've been kind of wanting to do it the whole time, and I haven't yet. But it is on my bio that I want to play classic games, older games, play them right through and share them with people, because it's probably a little bit rare that people my age would be playing those games for the first time and knowing about them, knowing everything about them, being immersed in people playing them around me. People were playing World of Warcraft around me all night long while I was making sure the place wasn't falling apart. But I only touched World of Warcraft for the first time this year when they did the Fresh Start servers. And I maybe left that one a bit too long. That game has maybe just aged a little bit too much to be engaging for me. But there are other games that are single player and that I'd really like to work my way through. But in terms of why I actually started streaming, that whole idea has always been bouncing around in my head. And then one day I bought the Millennium Falcon, not the UCS set, but just the I think it was the Force Awakens Millennium Falcon from Lego, and I set it up in our dining room and just started building it. It just happened to be one of those days where about a dozen different people came and visited the house, just popped in, said hi, dropped something off, did something, and everyone was just amazed by the detail of the set as I was building it and wanted to sit down and talk to me about it and just look at all of the minifigures and look at all of the detail that the Millennium Falcon had. And it's not even the most detailed Millennium Falcon that Lego do, but everyone was blown away. And at that point, those ideas started to merge. The idea that I could build Lego and share it with people, and there's a platform where people play games. Those two could marry up. And this was literally probably 4 years ago or so. So had I done it then, I probably would have been one of the pioneers. But as is the way with me, I like to bide my time and sit back and let other people blaze the trail. And it really came to 2020, and I'd had a room set up for Lego finally. I was getting ready to start streaming. I bought the equipment that I needed, a decent microphone. I had a decent camera. I was ready to create the account and start streaming. And then that pesky virus hit, and everyone got... In New Zealand, we had massive lockdowns, and lots of people probably already know this. So we were at home and only going out for like exercise and things like that, going to the supermarket. And that meant that my wife had to work from home. Well, we were all working from home at the time, but my wife specifically was in meetings 7 hours out of an 8-hour day. So she needed to have her own space and be on the video calls. So she had a ready set room ready to go because I had a streaming room set up, and she just basically slotted in and took over that. So that delayed things a little bit, and I decided, okay, I still really want to do this. I talked to a lot of people about doing it. This isn't one of those ideas that's just gonna let fall to the wayside. And so I started working on a backdrop in here. This is my garage. Whilst this bit here might look nice and tidy, there's a lot of stuff going on around me that isn't. Put in a lot of work to try and keep all of that clutter out of this space. So finally had this area, and while all of that had been going on, I'd been slowly getting more and more integrated into Twitch communities. It began with watching during lockdowns, Captain Sparkles and co doing Among Us, throwing that on for 2 or 3 hours and just sitting back and enjoying all the hilarity that was going on. And just more and more started to discover some New Zealand streamers, smaller New Zealand streamers who were growing their communities, started becoming a regular in their chat and engaging as much as I can and watching as much of their streams as I can, supporting them. And then finally stumbled across a couple of New Zealanders that were streaming. The first one was Brick Kiwi. He doesn't stream a hell of a lot, does a lot of very late night streams, but I jumped in and started talking to him and finding out a little bit more about streaming Lego. And then discovered Dan on, it was Between the Bricks back then, but Building with the Black Dog now. Started seeing what a really accomplished Lego streamer can do, and just getting really heavily involved in his community. And at this stage, it was more still wanting to stream and knowing that and learning about other people out there and just enjoying becoming a part of the community. So all of these things just slowly built up over time to that one nervous day when I sat in front of the camera. And I was probably sweating like anything. Fingers were probably shaking. And I hit that go live button. And lo and behold, someone actually came in. They said hi, started talking. And that was Fanny Slam, for anyone who knows Fanny, sometimes hangs out in a few Lego streams. And they were great enough to go and talk to one of their buddies in another stream and send them over with a raid. So my very first stream, I got a fantastic raid, and everyone stuck around and cheered me on, basically, gave me great support. And basically about a couple of weeks later, managed to hit affiliate. And it was all through just amazing people and communities, bringing communities to my stream. Andy's Lego helped me out, threw me into a raid train, and just got me across the line with those first 50 followers, and haven't looked back. Had a couple of quiet months here and there, but just once I hit the go live and got a feeling for what's going to happen, those nerves, but just having an absolute blast engaging with chat and just sharing Lego, sharing builds, and just sharing time. Sometimes it's not even about the Lego. A lot of the time it's not about the Lego. It's just more about hanging out with people on a Friday night, having a quiet beer while you just unwind from the week and get ready for the weekend. And those sorts of things are just fantastic.
That's a hell of a story. I appreciate the detail and everything that led you up to that.
Yeah, and it's sort of where I'd like to go too with the gaming thing. I'd like to play Half-Life start to finish on a stream. I'd like to play the original Call of Duty. Those games were they started a whole new genre of gaming, really. Sort of Half-Life with its incredible storytelling compared to what you got before that. Call of Duty with the first real military sort of campaign that wasn't Wolfenstein, it wasn't Doom or anything like that. It was historically based and a campaign story that you could actually play and enjoy. Those things were milestones of the gaming industry that I would like to revisit and give the attention that I feel like they deserve that I didn't give them back in the past.
Absolutely. So we have this story of thinking about gaming, getting into gaming, and then the idea of, yeah, I could completely stream this, and then somewhat by surprise, you're realizing Lego is another wonderful source of joy and content. So those ideas started to merge, and you find yourself streaming Lego with the idea of doing more gaming. What brought you to that point where you finally pulled the trigger and said, "Okay, I'm going to hit go live"?
It was just time, it had been long enough. There were other things that sort of added to the delay, and I had wanted to begin sooner. It was. I remember it was the 1st of May. It was coming up to Star Wars Day, and I thought, if I target 1st of May, then I'm going to be, it gives me something concrete that I'm not going to say, oh, I'll just do it next week. I'll wait till the week after. I wanted to have had my first stream and then be able to stream on Star Wars Day and stream some Lego Star Wars. It was Andy's Lego also was a bit of an emphasis. It just in talking with him on his late night streams, he was just a really good cheerleader to say, hey, look, just pull the trigger, just do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to have everything perfect. You don't have to have the most amazing highest level of everything. You just need to have the camera, have the microphone, and hit the go live. So yeah, those sorts of things, and just knowing that the Lego community, I'd been a part of it for probably 4 or 5 months at that point, and just knowing that they were so welcoming and so friendly to one another, especially to new streamers. This is probably one of the easiest communities to get started in, because people are so understanding that it takes a lot to sit in front of a camera and talk to people and press that go live. It's not easy. And I know a lot of people have varied backstories in the Lego community. There's a lot of people who watch Lego streams to help overcome issues in their own life, and to find that enjoyment and just to get some escapism. It's not fantasy. It's recapturing childhood, and also nowadays with the detail in a lot of the Lego sets, adults can really appreciate what's going on in there.
Getting started in streaming in Lego is a bit of a unique thing. You have seen all the game streams, and you know what those communities are like, and you highlighted one of the things I think we all note about the Lego community, and that it's so easy to kind of get right into and is very welcoming. What was that like for you getting started, as you were finally having probably at this point watched dozens, if not hundreds of streams, and then finally hitting the go live button for yourself? How is it different transitioning into that? Okay, I'm no longer watching a stream, like I am the person that people are watching. What was that like for you?
I guess at times it was still quite nerve-wracking, but I was also, I'm fairly modest, and so I'd observed it in other streams outside of the Lego community, where people had come into a stream and said, hey, I stream this as well, this is my channel, blah blah blah. And it's very frowned upon outside of the Lego community. Inside the Lego community, sometimes some people will have a problem with it, but for the most part, everyone's like, oh, you stream too? Cool, I'll check you out sometime. But for me, having watched a lot of non-Lego streams, I didn't feel comfortable jumping in and saying, oh, I'm streaming now. I've been watching you for months and I'm streaming, to the point where I think I remember I was in Building with the Black Dogs stream, and I think Brick Girl was giving me shout outs, and Dan was saying, why do you keep shouting out Whippy? And Brick Girl was like, Whippy streams. He's been streaming for like 4 or 5 weeks now.
Yeah.
And I think Dan was a little bit surprised that he knew nothing about it, but I was moderating for his channel at the time too, I think. So I wasn't going to go in there and shout out myself, but we shout out everyone who streams in the Lego community, and when he saw that I was getting shout outs, he realized I was streaming, and I was just happy to just grow naturally, and not ride off other people's coattails. And to be fair, I probably didn't want all of that attention in the first few weeks. It was good being able to grow a little bit more slowly and have people come organically rather than have everyone come in and see me make an absolute fool of myself because I've muted the mic or done something crazy and screwed up my scenes, got a flip camera or something. I was happy to make those mistakes in front of 2 or 3 people and just slowly grow. But also gave me a really good appreciation for what everyone else was doing as well. And just even being able to offer some feedback, just with focus and exposure and stuff like that, it can be difficult getting a really good picture of Lego pieces on a desktop. But if you can change your lighting, maybe I had so many issues early on with lighting, just working with getting the key light so it wasn't bouncing off all of the parts and things like that. And, lighting it's an art. People spend their entire lives working in it to perfect it. So us who probably spend 10 to 15 minutes trying to correct lighting so that it doesn't look heinous on our streams, it can be tough going. But yeah, just easing into the community as a streamer, I think was probably the best thing for me. Because I remember too, the first time I got the big grades, from the likes of Amish Ace and it's the Jang, and just feeling absolutely shell-shocked and like a deer in headlights. If that had happened to me on one of my first couple of streams, I would have absolutely lost it.
Yeah.
But it was a few weeks in. I'd been in other streams where it had happened to other people, so I sort of just took a breath.
Yeah.
Just tried to stay a little bit calm and ground myself, and just try to be thankful for that people are actually interested in your content, and continue doing what you're doing without trying to be someone different.
What do you find now that you've done this for a while, looking back or thinking about those earlier streams? What do you wish that you had known or had felt like maybe it would have been better to do it this way or know this kind of information going in? How would you tackle it differently knowing what you know now?
I would, and I still need to, have a more settled schedule. Just being able to reliably be online can be a real uphill battle sometimes.
Yeah.
But I know on a Wednesday, I'm part of the Brick Builders Raid train, and people know that they can expect me at a certain time. And on a Friday night, I stream at 8 p.m. New Zealand time on a Friday nights.
Yeah.
Just we had a few issues that needed to get past. Actually, November's been a really tough month for me, and I'd not streamed for a couple of weeks when you messaged me saying, "Hey, how would you like to?"
Oh yeah, I was aware.
I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
I should probably start streaming."
No, yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't. There's no requirement there to be on the show. Yeah, I mean, to give you information on that, I always kind of look at channels. I mean, I was already familiar with your channel going into it before I asked you. I did peek at your channel. I was like, it's been a while. I'm just gonna assume that he's good and he's just taking a break, or he would let me know if he's like, oh, I'm done for now. So I didn't want to lead with that, but I'm glad that you addressed it.
So we got COVID in our household, and it was our first time getting it. So to begin with, my wife had it, and I was looking after her, then the daughter, and then I finally got it. And it really knocked me for six. Afterwards, I was extremely fatigued, just low energy, and that just leads to low motivation. And I didn't want to bring that into my channel. I didn't want to be on here if I wasn't able to be myself. I didn't want to come in and complain and that I was Although I often come in and complain about, injuries that I've sustained playing sport and things like that. But, and after you get into that rut, it's been a week and I haven't streamed. It's easy to make it a week and a half. Something comes up and it's 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you're in this, am I a streamer anymore? Do I actually want to go out there and hit go live? And you start getting closer and closer to that, that first stream where you're so nervous about doing it and wondering if people would show up. Your request was perfectly timed for me, because it was that kick. It was like, yeah, no, you enjoy doing this. You want to keep doing it. And came out here and tidied things up a little bit, and just got back on the rails, really.
Good. Well, I'm glad that can actually be a bit of a motivator. You're not the first one to have said that to me when I've reached out, and I've done the whole, hey, would you like to be on the show sometime? Like, when would be good for you? And I've gotten the response, oh, hey, I haven't streamed in like a week or two. Is that okay? I'm like, that's absolutely fine. I understand. I've taken breaks myself. So getting sick also warrants a completely worthwhile time away to rest up. So absolutely.
I'm absolutely amazed though with the dedication of some streamers out there who stream through being sick. And for the most part, you might not even know. It was hard enough for me just to prop my head up and watch something on TV. And these guys were coming out here under their lights and playing first-person shooters and doing things. So I've massive props for anyone who can push through that and hit go live and just be someone worth watching.
Yeah, it takes an incredible amount of effort and energy to stream, and those that don't stream, maybe you don't know, or maybe we make it look easy, but it's certainly, when you're feeling sick, streaming is really difficult, especially like if you have something that's affecting your ability to talk. For me, that's the deal breaker usually. Like, I have streamed while being sick, but there's a difference between not feeling great and I physically can't talk because I'm either coughing or I just don't like feel great in the throat or chest area. And I agree with you though. It's absolutely those who power through it. It's tough. It's tough to do a stream in general, but it just requires an immense amount of energy and actual focus. And when you're sick, you probably don't want to do that anyway. So I'm glad that you took a break and took some time. There's definitely, like, let's talk about that feeling, right? When you take time away from creating any kind of content or streaming. You've alluded to this where you were saying, it's tough if to hit go live again. Will people even watch because I've been gone for a while? What's that feeling like, or what kind of drives those thoughts that you just verbalized?
Anxiety is a thing, right? Anxiety is a thing that we all have, and whenever we try something new, sometimes it's a good anxious energy, sometimes it's a not so useful one. But I'm very lucky at the moment I say lucky. I'm lucky to have some skills that we've built up over the last few years dealing with the depression that my daughter has been experiencing. So we've been through a whole raft of group therapy sessions, learning about dialectic behavior therapy, the idea that more than one thing can be true and each person has their own truth, and probably the real truth sits somewhere in between everyone else's, and just being accepting of that and being able to not put too much pressure on yourself and accept the fact that I really would like to stream and I don't feel like doing it, and that's okay. You can sit back and overthink it and let the negative thoughts like, I'm not going to have any viewers, no one's going to want to see me, I've got all of that mess on my desk that I have to clean up, I don't even know if my setup's going to work when I go out there. Just all of these things can be out there, and it is super hard to ignore it. But it's also okay to to have those concerns and be accepting of them. There is a chance that no one will come. And if that happens, how am I going to deal with it? I'm just going to keep streaming. I'm going to keep building, and I'm going to enjoy myself. I've streamed before when there was no one in chat for a good hour or two, and that's one of the hardest things for Twitch streamers to do. We're lucky in the Lego community that we often don't have to deal with it, because people will see someone building Lego and see one or two people in their chat, and they'll come in and start talking. Mm-hmm. It's one of the greatest things about the Lego community. They just bring up everyone to, they're a rising tide that brings up all ships. And it's fantastic. It can be super difficult, and it's not just streaming. It's all things in life, and just being accepting of the fact that you don't have to feel fantastic about everything. You don't have to be happy all of the time. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be upset. Things won't always be that way. Part of me always knew that after I've been streaming again for a little while, people will come. People have come in the past. They'll do it again. And it was more around that first stream, first 2 or 3 streams, maybe even only the first 15 minutes, that inertia of getting back in the groove, having something to say, having something to talk about, being interesting. But really, when you break it down, why are you doing this? Oh, because I enjoy streaming. I enjoy chatting with people about Lego. When you simplify it down, and it's so hard to do when all of the other thoughts are going on in your head, it's going back to basics and doing it because you enjoy it. If I was sitting there and saying all of these things, why do I want to stream? I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy talking to people. I don't enjoy building Lego. Then I would have to seriously think about what it is that I'm even doing with myself, that I'm putting myself out there to stream. Why would I want to do this if I don't enjoy it? Streaming for some people is a job, but while it's a hobby, do it because you love it. Even if it's a job, you should still be doing it because you love it. You shouldn't be stuck in a job that you don't like. But people do get stuck into jobs that they don't like because get used to a certain way of life if you're doing well, and or you've got no other options. But for the most part, if you can find your way out of a situation and into one that you would rather be in, then I'd say put your energy into that rather than trying to force something that's not really you. I think some people see that they start giving streaming a go and they realize that they don't really enjoy it and maybe do it a little bit too long. For the most part, I see so many people out there with almost no one in their streams and just enjoying streaming and playing and talking to the one person that comes in. And I love jumping into their streams and talking to them and hanging out for 30 minutes or so, and giving that reassuring voice that what they're doing is worthwhile, and just keep at it. And if you're loving it, just keep doing it. Kia kaha, stand strong. We tend to use that a lot, and people. New Zealand's an interesting place. We're really nice to each other until someone puts themselves out there, and it's very much a case of, oh, look at them thinking they're better than everyone else, and it's tall poppy syndrome. The tall poppy is the one that gets chopped. Mm-hmm. Everyone else just likes to chill out and be themselves and just fly under the radar. And there's a very Kiwi attitude. It's not so much don't go over and above. It's don't do it and put yourself out there. People who go the extra mile are absolutely loved, and people who tell people about going the extra mile ridiculed. And it's really interesting. I've been in job interviews and being told, look, you got to sell yourself more, and it's just something that New Zealanders don't do. We don't sell what we do, what we're capable of. Yeah, we like to deflect the attention for the most part. So it makes streaming really interesting for us, because we'd much rather the limelight be on someone else than ourselves. That's one part of our psyche that we really have to overcome. And
how do you reconcile that as someone who's a streamer who's trying to do that thing where a big part of it is being in the limelight or getting attention on yourself?
It's community focused. It's helping others. If someone else is having trouble getting something working, spending some time and helping them out and getting that done. Just being under the radar and doing some work to help other people that isn't focused on you and that you don't draw attention to. And I'm sitting here right now thinking of a couple of things that, I could draw attention to, and I'm just not going to, because I'll leave it for other people if they want to say it. But I try to be helpful. I try to put time behind the scenes. I probably spend more time offline working on streams or trains and things like that than I do online actually streaming. And I think that's a very Kiwi way of going about things. Put in the hard work beforehand, and then everything else is just the cream on the top. It's sort of the way anyone who plays sports throughout my sporting career, it's always been the same. It's you train hard and you play easy. Not that you play easy, just makes the game easy. It's very interesting in New Zealand. Anyone who likes Star Wars will know that Temuera Morrison is very prominent in Star Wars these days. And in New Zealand, when he was first cast as Boba Fett, or Jango Fett, and then, of course, Boba Fett, it was very difficult to take. It was like, what's a New Zealander doing in Star Wars? Why are you ruining it for us? This is, and I still struggle anytime I hear the New Zealand accent. But more and more, it's New Zealanders are out there on the world stage and achieving. You just got to look at The Boys. It's led by 2 New Zealand actors, and you wouldn't know they're New Zealanders because one's putting on a British accent, one's putting on an American accent. But I can think back to like Outrageous Fortune, which is a show in New Zealand about West Aucklanders, and West Aucklanders they're sort of like the petrol heads. I don't want to be insulting, but the petrol head bogans with the long hair and the black clothes, and they're a certain type. But it's not everyone in West Auckland. West Auckland's a very expensive place to live now, so it's not like that. But that's the attitude. And Outrageous Fortune is a family that's associated with crime in West Auckland, and that was his beginnings. He was playing a dumb idiot, and actually he was playing twin brothers, a dumb idiot and a suave sort of manipulator. And his leap has been a lot easier for a lot of people to accept, I think, than Temuera Morrison's. And it's just because it's starting to become normalised that New Zealanders are achieving. So maybe things will start to change. You see people on the world stage doing well, and then people start to think, oh, so-and-so I could probably do that too. Steven Adams in the NBA made it normal for people to succeed in American sports. So people can have these goals of trying to succeed, and people aren't going to go, oh, you're never going to make the NBA. It can't be done. No one in New Zealand's ever going to do it. So, just time. We'll slowly mature. We'll change as a nation. But that's one of our hang-ups, just being the center of attention, built into us to not be.
That certainly probably feels weird, right? Trying to do streaming, which is in some ways very much kind of against what you were describing as far as how y'all like to fly low on the radar versus, hitting a button that broadcasts you and your camera and what you're doing to everyone on the internet. So I think that's very interesting. And thank you for sharing that insight.
And, some of the streams where I'm most comfortable, I'm enjoying this, but this is also very nerve-wracking because you're obviously asking me a lot of questions very directly. And I can talk. I could probably talk all day, but I often go on Flobit Creates' after show, and we talk about Andor episodes or Obi-Wan episodes. And those are just really relaxed and casual for me because I'm one of 3 or 4 people on screen, and I can just jump in and talk about what we're talking about and then sit back and just not be the center of attention.
Yeah.
And that's really comfortable for me. And I feel like that's when I'm at my best streaming, because I can just relax and take it easy and not feel the need to entertain, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy engaging with chat. I love everyone who comes in and talks to me and says hi, but it's definitely a lot more comfortable to just fly under the radar and take it easy.
So you prefer that example of group streams or where there's multiple people on and personalities to fill that space, so to speak, right? And then it's vastly different than being in a one-on-one interview or the soul streamer where everyone has to look at you and listen to what you have to say. Does that make it difficult like to do this regularly on a regular basis?
In terms of where you get your energy from, I think it does.
Yeah.
It's the analogy of team sports versus individual sports, you know.
Right.
I've grown up playing team sports, and I've played a hell of a lot of rugby, and to the point where I was very comfortable just slotting in wherever I was needed. Every position requires a different skill set and different physical abilities. And I kind of just gave up on all of that and just started slotting in wherever the team would need me, to the point where at a senior level, I played 14 out of the 15 positions. And the only one I didn't was the one that required you to be the most skillful player on the field, basically. Right. And I just found that easier than just trying to commit to being one thing. I'd rather learn all things and just slot in where needed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sort of a jack of all trades and master of none.
Right.
That's very, very Kiwi way of thinking. You know, build your own house, but don't go out building mansions.
Do you feel
landscape your own garden, but don't go and design the botanical gardens, sort of thing.
Do you feel like this mindset really affects how you approach content creation and the act of streaming and broadcasting?
Yes and no. For the most part, you know, I like to just stick with what works. So I guess in a way, you know, not putting myself out there. But then also, you know, we do things on our channel with Easter eggs where I've basically gone through and hidden a whole lot of clips. I know it's very common for people to have a list of clips and redeems that people can come to a channel and engage with. We hide them. And it means chat has to engage on another level. They actually have to notice what's going on, and if they want to play the Back to the Future clip, then they have to work out what word it was that someone said that actually triggered it. We've got a list of redeems for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where chat basically plays the scene, you know, the Backstreet Boys lineup. And they just take their turns playing it. And that kind of comes from the desire to be a little bit different. So it is trying to stand out a little bit. I didn't want my stream to be exactly the same as everyone else's. I wanted it to have quirks. And I think everyone should probably aim to try and do something a little bit differently, something that help make them stand out. Some people are just, you know, naturally very very good at engaging with people and just very sincere and can just straight off the bat, not that anyone's not sincere, okay, that's not what I mean, but you know, they don't have to force it. They can just sit back, chat, and really enjoy hanging out with chat, and that's enough to carry a great stream. Others, you know, just in one stream, my energy levels are gonna go up and down. So having the ability for chat to do something, to entertain themselves, if you know my energy levels are a little bit low, it's very handy. But one other thing is, New Zealanders have this thing called number 8 wire attitude, which is make something out of anything. It's very useful in streaming because, like, for instance, I'm in my garage. What's behind me is a wall that I built on out of some 4x2 and some plywood, and I actually wallpapered it today. You can't really see much of it, but it's it's a Star Wars backdrop. We just make things out of ingenuity a little bit. I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm ingenious. So I'm falling into some traps here. But using old iPhones that have retired from use for my desktop and building cams and things like that. Using the EOS webcam utility for my Canon camera because I had a decent camera and didn't want to go out and buy a specific streaming camera and spend money that didn't really have to spend on a flash camera. Just making do with what you've got is a very Kiwi way of doing things. And I've just slowly, this is really strange. The worst spend I ever did on my streaming setup is actually this camera that I'm on right now, because this is the third time I've used it. In 6 months, I've used it 3 times. It's very fortuitous that I have it today. But it just wasn't necessary. I thought I needed it, and I really didn't for the most part. But yeah, just making do with what you have. Rebuilding sets that you built in the past and sharing it with people on stream. I have to start mocking, because eventually streaming Lego is going to become too expensive for me, and I'm not going to be able to buy the new sets all of the time. I want to get into mocking anyway. I've joined the local lug, lug, and been to the meetings and been to a few brick shows, and now I just need to push myself to get out there and get involved in that community more so than I have been.
That's really exciting. I think you fall into the category that a lot of us do when we've been doing this long enough. That is to say, streaming Lego, where the question is, do I sustain it by getting more sets, or do I take up mocking? Right? That's certainly, I think you're at a wonderful crossroads that a lot of us have found ourselves at. We didn't really get a chance to talk too much about how you got into Lego. What is that story? How did you get into Lego to begin with?
As a youngster, 4 or 5, I remember we had a suitcase, and it was like one of those very old school sort of 60s school suitcases where you might put books and your lunch in it. And we had one of those that was just full of bricks, and it was full of the old I don't even know what those figures were called, with the yellow dome head, not dome head, sphere head, and they were just basically on a 2x2 brick with arms that click in and all those things. And I used to sit there in front of the TV watching the VHS of Star Wars that I'd recorded off TV, building X-Wings and TIE fighters with those Lego bricks. And they were horrendous little builds. They were so bad, because you just had no flexibility with what you could do with them. Yeah. But I remember looking through all the toy catalogs and seeing all these pirate sets and things like that, and wanting to get them. Getting a couple of city sets, but not really being, the city sets were the small and affordable ones, and the pirates, they were the big sets, and we're not getting those. just no way. So like everyone else, Lego falls by the wayside, and then all of a sudden, around 99, 2000, they start making these Lego Star Wars sets. Well, at the time, I was just starting university, and it wasn't really the right time for me to be building Lego. So I was out partying and having a good time, and wasn't spending money on Lego sets. But then eventually settled down, had kids. It actually wasn't too long after that. It was only really like 2003, 4, and 5. Settled down, started a family, and once our kids started to get to that age, it was. I remember Lego. Let's see where things are at now. I remember we I think my oldest daughter might have been about 6, and we went out and bought a Y-wing for her. Nice. And she sat down and built it. She's never touched it again, but at the time she loved it. But I've built it a dozen times since. Oh then. Yeah. And that was it. I think I got an A-wing, and then the big purchase was we were very fortunate that my daughter's grandparents shouted us a family trip to Disneyland. It was with all of the families, so the grandparents and all the siblings and step siblings, and we all went over, and we had an awesome time. But while there, went to our first ever Lego store, because at the time we didn't have Lego stores in New Zealand, and went to downtown Disney, went to the Lego store there, and I saw this thing, the snow speeder, and I absolutely had to have it. That was the first time when I looked at a set, it was like, I'm not leaving the store until we've bought that. And my wife was very understanding. I hadn't spent a lot at Disneyland myself.
Yeah.
We'd spend a lot on the kids, and she said, "No, if you want that, we can get that." And she probably regrets that to this day, because it's not stopped since then.
That was it, right? That was the moment that it all kind of happened.
That was the one set that just triggered it all, and it's like, wow, that looks incredible. That's Lego, and it doesn't look like Lego. And it looks like the thing from the movie that I love.
Yeah.
And there was, I'm not going to say it was love at first sight. It was, it was just igniting a passion that, and again, it's all these dormant things. It's playing with Lego when you were young, and watching Star Wars when you were young, and the two coming together, having kids, wanting to share that experience. Things come full circle, and sometimes it just works really well.
I love that. I love that story. I like how you can even pinpoint the moment that it all kind of changed for you. And I really appreciate that. I'm glad that you have that story. And here you are, right? All that time later, now it's just as big a part of your life, and it's also a big part of
bigger. Bigger.
I was going to say it's probably a part of other aspects, right? Including the content creation portion. And it probably, admittedly, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be as focused on content creation, if not for the Lego side of it all. So
yeah, I probably would have tried streaming first person shooters or strategy games, and I'd probably have 2 or 3 people in my chat if I'm lucky. Twitch is very difficult to build a community with in a lot of places. There are so many established streamers, and they tend to stream for a lot longer than your average Lego builder does. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to break in. You're competing with really talented people who, they can no scope 360 headshot people. And,
right.
It's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Whereas Lego's a little bit more of an even playing field. And everyone for the most part, everyone raids into one another, and the community is the community. Everyone's in everyone's streams and just been super supportive. The weather. It's been a really good one lately, though, because I actually had to cancel a stream because I'm in my garage and the garage door was literally trying to come off the hinges.
Wow.
Well, off the rails. And it was just banging away and crazy. The weather in New Zealand has been really interesting this year. It used to be if you had 2 thunderstorms a year, that was sort of about what you'd expect. We were having 2 thunderstorms a week through winter. It was insane. It was the wettest winter in Wellington on record. Wellington's the city nearest to where I live. It's just absurd how wet it's been. And now it's been wet in spring as well. I play a sport called cricket, which requires that you haven't really had a lot of rain lately. You throw balls into the ground and hope they bounce, basically.
Yeah.
And we also play on artificial turfs, which is basically concrete with some grass over the top, because it can be so changeable, the weather. But we should have played 8 games, and we've played 3, and the other weekends it's been raining, and It's only spring.
So weather is the go-to.
Weather's one go-to. Another one is a good one when people are there. You've got some lurkers there who you're sort of trying to tease out. I never want to force someone who I know is lurking to chat, but I might just ask a couple of questions. What sets are people excited about? What have people been building lately? What are you doing this over the weekend? Anyone looking forward to anything exciting? Just leaving open-ended questions, because if someone's in your chat not talking, it's because they want to be in your chat and not talk. It's up to you as the streamer to encourage them to want to talk, to want to share something. That's probably my number one goal when I'm streaming, just to encourage people to share, to be a part of it, and not feel like they have to sit back. I've been in streams where I've sat back and not wanted to get involved in the chat, and it's counter to how I normally am in streams. I want to go in and say hi and talk to people. I don't want people to feel like they can't say things in my stream.
It's definitely a fine line in a way, right? Because you're trying to cater to a couple different sides of how to consume one of these streams. Because you have the people who want to get into a chat room, say hello, interact with everyone else and the streamer. And then you have the other people who will put the stream up and they're just happy to listen to what's going on, maybe have a laugh or something, or just listen to what's going on without necessarily engaging directly with the streamer. It's somewhat more passive. I end up doing that during the day while I work, somewhat out of necessity because I'm working. But yeah,
and necessity is absolutely one of the main reasons people aren't going to engage. I am super surprised with the amount of people who have my stream up while they're working or they're doing other things. I could think of a million better things to have up while you're working, but no, they're nice enough to do that, and if they're nice enough to let me know about it too, then that's awesome. But if they're absolutely happy just being in the background and letting everyone else chat and just listen to the stream or watch the stream, then I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say that that's not how my stream is meant to be
right.
Consumed. I'm a very big Childish Gambino fan, and I remember when he released This Is America, someone asked him, what is the meaning of this? What are you trying to say? And he just deadpan sat back and said, I'm not going to tell people how they should enjoy my music. It means to them what it means, and that's how it is.
Right.
If I go and say what it is to me, then I'm tainting it for them. But he's put it out there, and it has whatever meaning people want to draw from it.
Yeah. I really like that. I really like that stance.
But I'm not just comparing myself to Childish Gambino in any sense. Not at all.
The concept is still there, though. The concept is still strong. So I
absolutely
I appreciate that.
Consume it how you will.
Consume it how you will. Not that I'm saying that you should tell people how to consume it, but I do have the question of, where do you see your channel going? What do you want to do with your Twitch channel and your community? What kind of goals do you have? I
really enjoyed the fundraiser that we did a few months ago. For anyone that doesn't know, Brix O'Brien, I believe Brix O'Brien was the main protagonist, but also with the support of More and More and several others in the brick building community, put together a group of streamers to stream for Stand Up to Cancer. And this was fairly early on. I think I'd been streaming 3 months at that stage, but it was a cause that I was really keen to support. Cancer's had a very big impact on my family. Being able to be a part of that community, I went in there scared that we wouldn't raise a single dollar in my stream. And we far surpassed that. We surpassed my wildest dreams, to be honest, at the time, considering how small my following was, and still is, really. But what I would really like to do with it is to be able to create a platform where on regular basis I'm able to make contributions to causes like that. And to an extent, the stream needs to be able to be self-sustaining. So I can't, at this stage, if I was to count up all of the Lego sets that I'd streamed, it would be at a massive loss, and I could have just turned around and put that money into good causes rather than into my Lego collection. I would absolutely love it if I was able to find a balance of both, have an engaged community is large enough to contribute and make a difference. I mean, any contribution is appreciated, but to be able to do it on a regular basis, I looked at some of the numbers that people were contributing and thought, that's incredible. You guys are amazing. And I would love to be a part of fostering all of that. Not for the kudos, because that's not how we do it in New Zealand, but just for being able to make differences in people's lives. That would be the end goal. And for it to not send me bankrupt, that would be really nice too. So an absolute balance of being self-sustaining and then being able to give to some really good causes. Because I did reach out ahead of time and talk to you about depression, and I mentioned my daughter's depression earlier in the stream. We have had it really tough the last couple of years. We struggled very hard with suicide attempts. We were extremely lucky to have some really good support around the place, and everything was able to be managed, and being able to contribute in ways that would support others to, through what we went through and what we're still going through on a daily basis. This stuff never really ends. You don't all of a sudden stop suffering from depression. That the triggers are always there. There's always a possibility that something will bring you down. But anything that I could do to help others in need would be super amazing. And at the moment, just trying to steadily grow. And if I can continue to steadily grow, I think, going into next year, I might really be in a place where, maybe the next time Stand Up to Cancer comes around, we could double those numbers, triple those numbers, do something amazing, start really making a difference. And that's what I would really love to be able to do. If I could do that on a more regular basis. In business, there's this idea that you keep trying to make money out of the customers that you have. You keep trying to maximize their spend with you. That's not something that you want to do when you're fundraising. You want to appeal to more people. You want to get more people contributing less, so that the burden isn't so great. So if I can grow the channel, if I can get people in from outside of the Lego community, bring them into the Lego community, or just bring them in to the New Zealand streaming community, because that's a thing too. I am surprised how many streamers there are in New Zealand. There are a ton for even outside of Lego, but Lego streamers in New Zealand, there are a ton of us. But outside of that, there's a bunch of really good streamers who just, really super down to earth, really welcoming, fantastic communities. Just being able to grow these communities, because all of them do their bit too. They're all contributing in ways, fundraising. And so if I can introduce people to the communities, they don't have to donate on my stream. Someone else might be having a fundraiser in April that I'm not doing. But if somehow we put people in touch with one another, and it turned out to be a donation, or even just raising the profile in their respective categories on Twitch, all of those things help.
Yeah. And
I think Twitch is a fantastic platform in general for social upbringing, for just everyone contributing for good causes, and just trying to help and make changes in the world.
I really admire that. I think that's really awesome. I got my start as a streamer, mostly as a charity streamer, and it's a big part of what I like to do as well. So I'm glad that that's something you're looking for doing. And thank you for your help with the Stand Up to Cancer campaign. That was wonderful. I got to catch some of that. That was absolutely fantastic. And that,
my hair has grown back, and I had my first haircut this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some shenanigans with hair that happened and went down. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for opening up about how depression has affected your family. And that's certainly something that is certainly a tough thing. And before we sat down to do this, you shared with me a resource that we wanted to kind of put out there for folks who are struggling. And actually, I can type that in the chat. But this is a list of international suicide hotlines. So just want to put that out there, and thank you for sharing that. It's something that it's a day-to-day thing that many people struggle with, and thank you for sharing
it is
that.
And I'd like to see more people sharing it. The more we talk about it, the less taboo it becomes. Mental health in general is just something that we should all feel comfortable talking about amongst our friends and families. And the more we do that, the smaller the impact's going to be on the people that actually are going through these things. It's hard enough to go through it when you're in it, let alone having to deal with judgments from outside, people who aren't accepting, people who don't understand. The more we talk about it, the more we'll raise that understanding and just make it an acceptable thing. It must be so difficult for anyone who's feeling like their world is caving in, that they're not worthwhile, and then have people judging them because of that, telling them that they're not. That's a cycle that's never going to improve. The only way that it improves is when people are accepting of it and it becomes a thing that no one is judged for. It's I'm not the most eloquent when I'm speaking about this. It starts to get me a little bit emotional and I start losing my words. But just be nice to one another, people, and just think about how you would like to be treated when you're not feeling your best, and treat other people that way.
Thank you for opening up about that. It's definitely something that should be talked about more. Thank you for putting that out there. Thank you for sharing. I know that's something that is really important to you, so I'm glad that we can touch on that. I know where you want to go with your channel. Is there anything in the near future that you have planned, or anything that you are looking forward to doing in the context of your channel and your community and content?
In the next wee while, I'm going to be changing things up a little bit. I felt really bad about not streaming at the beginning of this month, and I obviously there were reasons I couldn't, and then I let things get a little bit on top of me. So I'm looking towards December to. This sounds like a massive undertaking, but it's not going to be. But I'm going to begin an advent calendar for December. So we've got the Lego Star Wars advent calendar, and we'll focus on that as the main part of some very short streams. So whether it's half an hour to 1 hour of just focusing on that little thing and what people are up to, just having a bit of a chat, maybe build a bag of something else. But I'm also going to start the very first of my retro gaming one-shots, which is going to be, I'm hoping to do this on a Monday New Zealand time, which is a Sunday, so tomorrow for other parts of the world, where we take an older game, and older games are good for this because they tend to not be so long, and just play it start to finish.
Awesome.
In one stream, so a one shot. So the likes of Half-Life and its add-ons and sequels, Call of Duty, BioShock. There's a few other games in there too. So I'm not going to be doing this every day, but maybe like once a fortnight sort of thing, once every 2 weeks. I know some places don't know what fortnights are. And yeah, just try and get back into that retro gaming, classic gaming, I guess it's more sort of geared towards, and just start getting over my own anxieties around some of those games and the burnout that I experienced, and do it at a time of year when it's pretty festive and lighthearted, and hopefully people can get lost in it with me and not worry about other things that might be going on in the world, or stresses that might be coming with Christmas. Try and make it a fun time. And so a bit more gaming, building Lego every day, at least in a little way, and just looking to kick things off in December with a view for some regular streaming in 2023. So getting that schedule done. Being able to tell, raids that arrive, I stream at this time and this time on this day and this day.
There you go.
Instead of just follow me and find out. Just having a little bit more structure around it. And that's going to help in family life too. Talking to my wife in the morning, what should we do for dinner tonight? And the first question she always puts to me is, are you streaming tonight? It's I don't know. So if I can tell her when I am and aren't streaming, then she knows whether or not I can contribute to cooking dinner or things like that. It would help on a lot of levels. But I am looking to begin being more regular. That's the big thing, the big takeaway.
Well, I look forward to that. Regular streams with the advent calendar and some retro or classic gaming. Awesome things to do. I always love the classic stuff, and you don't always see that as much on Twitch nowadays. So that's really awesome. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today, taking some time out of your afternoon.
I want to thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
It's been fun.
Yeah. You're very
nerve-wracking, but very fun.
Yeah, I apologize. But I'm glad that you sat down with me and we got to learn a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do. So thank you, Whippy. I'm going to let everyone know twitch.tv/whippywhipster. So check Whippy out, and there will be regular streams coming soon. Was there any final words that you wanted to share with folks as we close out this episode of Crossing the Streams?
I want to say a big thank you to everyone in chat, first of all. Thank you for coming along and watching today. It's interesting, people come to my stream to see me, but they've come here to listen to what I have to say on your stream, which is that just blows me away. Of course, they're coming for you, though. Let's face it, you're the real star here.
Nah.
But I also want to say a huge thank you to the team on the Brick Building Raid Train. I can name all of them because it's not too long. Got Jake Studs, Lego Puck Boys just joined us, Building with the Black Dog, Sapience, and I Am Billsy. We stream on a Tuesday and Wednesday, depending on where you are in the world. And there's a couple of Lego masters in there. We're lucky enough to share Twitch with us. And the members of the People's Train. It's having a little bit of a hiatus at the moment while we reorganize ourselves, but we stream over the weekend. Sometimes we've streamed from Friday through to Sunday just as one big train. But we're people's schedules have been changing, so it's getting a bit more difficult to organize, but we're looking to try and come back with something in the new year. So everyone who's a part of that, just a massive thank you for all of your support. And just a massive shout out to all of the fantastic Lego streamers and content creators and everyone who's a part of the community, who follows, lurks, subscribes, does all the amazing things that helps us continue to do what we do and hit go live every other day when we actually do.